are these people?
Hey, everybody. Well, that was unfair. We were rudely interrupted, and I wasn't really quite done. I certainly had a bunch more last night, and I wanted to get to boats smashing into other boats because we were going uncensored. This was going to take a little bit longer. So I figured, well, since we were rudely interrupted and I needed to finish the show anyway, and I needed to edit some kind of an ending onto it, why not just come back and do the lightning round? Lightning round, lightning round. So that's my plan, is to do the lightning round. So let's do the lightning round. Okay, I had a set of stories, just a few of them, that I thought people should pay attention to, but I didn't want to go through all of them and read through the whole thing. But certainly go take a look, and I will put the links in the description. So, first of them, oh, okay, that came out too big. Let's fix that. All right. This is an article by Hamilton Nolan. We've brought some of his stuff before on the show. And this is his thing, how things work. He wants to give free advice for rich idiots who have some bright ideas about media ventures. And I really like this article. Not a huge fan of his, but he sometimes writes some really good stuff. And he talks about the difference between journalism and propaganda. And he lays out a couple of lines that I thought were outstanding that I actually ended up, quote, stacking on Substack. I thought it was actually a really quality article. So go take a look at that if you get a chance. Free advice for rich idiots who have some bright ideas about media ventures. Again, it's basically saying that, actual honest journalism has no place in a billionaire funded media outlet. But this is where we're at today. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I did mention it earlier during the Fuck Israel segment, was the Dissident's article about Bari Weiss and the Free Press, which was outstanding. Oh my God. But it's super long. So you're going to have to go read that yourself. It'd probably take me a half hour just to read through it. But after reading it, which is, again, an outstanding piece, it's called The Free Press, Selling the Israel Lobby's Agenda Under the Banner of Fearless Journalism. Where have we seen this before? Huh. All right, so that's The Free Press, funded by Bari Weiss. So I had a comment on top of all this, is that Bari Weiss is a Netanyahu Toadie. Now, this is playing off of her appearance on the Joe Rogan show where she called Tulsi Gabbard a Assad Toadie. And he's like, what exactly is that? She didn't really have a good answer. Bari Weiss is the Netanyahu Toadie. But I'll explain what it is. She's a war crime whitewasher and an apologist for people who brag about baby murderers and government-sanctioned rapists and committing prisoner torture in our society today. We have hundreds of documented cases of this. I have no idea who would pay for that garbage propagandist publication. This is what our leaders have decided will be acceptable. I think it was a great job by the Dissident to break down who and what is behind the messaging being pushed across Substack and the entire internet, thanks to venture capitalists like Andreessen Horowitz and David Sachs and everybody else that valued the outlet at $100 million last October. It's probably worth more than that today. For what? How much revenue are they actually generating for Substack? And it's impossible that this venture is profitable considering all that it's gotten. So ask yourself why it's being funded, likely at a loss, to the valuation of $100 million. Is that what they value the effect of their propaganda because it gets into X amount of places and could command X amount of advertising? I don't believe they sell ad space. I could be wrong. So again, read the Dissident's article. It was outstanding. Here's the beginning of it. In selling the Israel lobby's agenda under the banner of fearless journalism, Bari Weiss's The Free Press sells itself as an adversarial independent outlet, but functions as a propaganda arm for the Israeli government. So, yeah, here you go. 1.25 million overall subscribers, 155,000 paid subscribers. Again, who's paying to be propagandized by this nonsense for confirmation bias? Not facts, just absolute nonsense. All right. Anyway, I'm fired up again today, too. APAC Nepo baby. Okay, so if you go through all the sections here, and you can see them here, like father, like daughter, this will take you right to it. And this is all about her father. All right, Lou Weiss, APAC connected father. Then you have the Free Press, which originally launched as what, Common Sense, or a different name, and then changed it, rebranded. Here you go, Common Sense. Yep. After she left the New York Times, she launched this Substack outlet. By 2022, it had rebranded as the Free Press. Weiss raked in cash from VCs like Mark Andreessen, who also is a VC owner of both Substack and Stripe. That's the monetization arm for Substack. Okay, sample of type of reporting that the Free Press did is showcased in a 2022 mashup of the most thoughtful writers we know on the biggest stories of 2022, presented at the end of the year. Like, go against the mainstream consensus, like, now NIH director Jay Bhattacharya. He was part of that mainstream alternative media narrative, also involved with the wellness company, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Got to talk to Amazing Polly about where he sits in all of that. But he's not clean in all of this. And now he's part of the Trump admin. So they brought him into the fold. They bought his silence. All right, then there's the anti-free press, furthering the Israel lobby's agenda and all the ways that she's done that and that the outlet has, and then giving credit to where it's due, right? In 2012, she set out to connect her Zionist activism to her journalism, and she's done a good job of doing that. The problem is that it's monstrous and disgusting and barbaric and criminal to the point, almost criminal to the point of whitewashing, criminalization, and war crimes. As sick as it is, she actually did a good job of pushing their craven and genocidal agenda under the guise of fearless journalism and free thinking. Well, if you want to compliment her for being a great propagandist, I guess, yes, she is an excellent propagandist. Oh, let me scroll down so you can see that. There it is right there. Unreal. Okay. This was actually a really good article, and it went in depth and it went really deep. So I appreciate that. Subscribe to the Dissident. He's looking for paid subscribers, and he's been putting out a mountain of content lately. Let me just go back to the homepage here on the Dissident's Substack for a second and show you that in the last 3 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 original articles in a few days, plus the Free Press article that was a super in-depth one. He's been hard at work. So support independent media, support our friend and INN co-founder, The Dissident. Yes, he was involved in the original 16. I also wanted to make mention really quickly of Aaron Reishin Melnick, who has been one of these ICE, kind of watchdog lawyers that has been following what's been happening with all these arrests and deportations of immigrants, of green card holders, and of people here that are on asylum. There are also definitely deportations of people who were here illegally, but I think a lot of them had fallen under some kind of an allowance that has now been stripped. So what Aaron claimed here, and this was on May 20th, was that according to litigators, ICE just put 12 men on a flight to South Sudan, a country which is on the brink of civil war, in direct defiance of a court order requiring ICE to give people an opportunity to raise objections before being sent to a country not their own. Wait, what? So these were not South Sudanese people? Litigators filed an emergency request for a restraining order to halt the flight from taking off, or if it's already in the air, to turn it around. Of course, we know that didn't happen. Citing the Supreme Court's decision on the Alien Enemies Act, they emphasized that people on the flight were denied due process, which the Trump administration does not care about. The men reportedly being sent to South Sudan include at least 2 of the men the administration previously had tried to send to Libya. If it's the same 12 men, it includes people from Mexico, Bolivia, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, and other countries. Not people from South Sudan. They're literally just trying to put them on a plane and drop them there with no money, no contacts, no nothing, no life. These are the worst people. They're horrible. They're killers. They're murderers. You don't do this. You try them. You give them due process. You let them prove their case. You give them a lawyer. That's what we do in this country, or what we have done. But apparently that doesn't happen here anymore. He says the litigators argue that this flight to South Sudan, if it's real, would clearly violate a court order, which was already upheld by the First Circuit, which requires ICE to give people being deported to a country not their own a chance to raise concerns. And I would say that on the brink of civil war gives you a reason to raise concern. The full motion for the temporary restraining order is here. Here's the email. The wife of one of the men reportedly on his way to South Sudan sent his lawyer yesterday. She said her husband and 11 others had been told by ICE that they'd be sent to South Africa. They'd been sent to South Africa, refused, then told they'd be sent to South Sudan. She ends with a plea for help. This is, again, please follow Aaron Reichlin Melnick on Twitter, senior fellow for the IMM Council. All right. He's tweeting with the IJC Corps, the Immigrant Justice Corps. And somebody needs to be telling the story about what's happening here, because they're just trying to disappear people. Somebody was also told the wrong country. Yes. But South Sudan. They theoretically had a plan to go to South Africa. Definitely could have been a game of telephone being played. ICE officer ordered to issue these notices thought it was South Africa. Oh, man, what a mess. The fact that any of this is happening like this. Here we go. In a late-night court hearing, the Trump admin says that it deported the Burmese men to Burma, refusing to say where it deported the Vietnamese men, claiming it's classified. What? The judge ordered ICE to tell everyone involved that they may face criminal contempt. Wait, what? This is a crazy story. This seems like it may be contempt. Officials involved in the deportations who were aware of his order, including the pilots of the plane, could face criminal sanctions. Good. Sorry. You can't just do this. Apparently they did. South Sudan. The New York Times had more details. Apparently they got a report. They had a reporter at a hearing. Wow, what a mess. What a mess all of this is. And this keeps going. Here we go. Flight trackers have been following one particular jet overnight, which took off from Harlingen, Texas, near the relevant detention center, and appears to be on a direct path to South Sudan. That was May 21st. Huh. So apparently they did send them all to South Sudan. Oh, okay. Interesting. Sure. Stay on this story, please. And seeing where they're deporting people and what they're doing. This is really, really scary. They're just disappearing people, and very few are even paying attention. Very few are standing up to say anything. And what's going to happen here? It's frightening, because they're going to start doing this to the dissident people that are standing up against what Israel's doing to the people in Gaza and the West Bank and Lebanon and Syria. So I know this guy. I brought him a couple times. He recently published a book called Propaganda. He has a Substack called EqualityAlec Propaganda something, Cop Watch or something. He wrote this thread about Medicaid cuts and the House, and we talked about Medicaid cuts last week. And he says, thread, a lot of attention is rightly going to Medicaid cuts and other very bad things in Trump's bill passed in the House, which did pass this week. But there's something isn't getting attention that's difficult to find in any news coverage, but that will fundamentally alter life for all of us. Well, now you have my attention. The bill provides $160 billion in border and immigration funding in the next 4.5 years. Wait, I'm going to repeat that line. The bill provides $160 billion in border and immigration funding in the next 4.5 years. It's hard to describe the unprecedented scope of this, but I'll try. Tens of thousands of armed agents in every corner of society are going to be nearly immune from state prosecution or civil suits. Wait, what? This article describes it more, but I want to focus on a few things. But first, when you build infrastructure like this and create new jobs and pensions for right-wing unions, it's hard to ever remove them. A new Gestapo could become a permanent feature of life, like we've seen Homeland Security become a permanent feature of life, which expanded CBP and rolled in all these other bureaus and became a much larger entity than it ever was. Second, the bill sets the stage for massive privatized for-profit concentration camps. Where are we hearing about that happening right now? 3 zones in Gaza we talked about earlier. It will quadruple the capacity of ICE to detain people, giving it the capacity to detain in for-profit arrangements where corporations make money per person per day, at least 100,000 more people. They want to be able to detain 100,000 people at a time or more. That's not scary or anything. Third, the United States would be flooded with new armed agents that are virtually unaccountable. The legal and institutional mechanisms by which any of them could be held accountable are almost non-existent, either in criminal or civil court. That's nuts. You must understand this in combination with the government's assertion that it can sell anyone it wants to indefinite lifelong torture camps in other countries, and that courts are powerless to bring them home, even if it's an error or the person is a U.S. citizen. Like this guy. ICE wrestled an Alabama worker to the ground and detained him for hours. He's a U.S. citizen. Young man was begging and shouting, "I'm a U.S. citizen," but that didn't stop them from dragging him to a detention center. Not following due process hurts us all and our economy. His family said ICE agents did release him after he was finally given the opportunity to prove he was a U.S. citizen, but only after many hours. This construction site in Foley, Alabama was then forced to shut down for at least a day. How many other businesses were affected? For what? For what? Attacking an American citizen as he was working. Because why? Was he a dissident? Did he say something? Did he look the part? No excuse. I wrote about how scary this all is and how the media's news coverage is enabling it. It's astonishing to me that there's almost no mainstream coverage of these aspects of the bill. He published that on his Substack there too. It's important to follow sources that can keep you updated, like Aaron Reich and Melnick. What a surprise. All right. Another chaotic scene in San Diego immigration court as ICE continues arresting people showing up for their court hearings. They're following the rules and they're getting swept up and deported. Fourth, we arrived at this point, not just through the far-right fear-mongering and bold fascist planning, the Democratic mainstream news and even many self-serving liberal professors and nonprofits are responsible. And it's vital to see that if we're going to change course. Yeah. Wait, you mean Democrats are also fascist like the Republicans are? Yes, they are. Thank you, Alec. Yes. This is the result of Dems and liberals not only building much of the infrastructure, yes, cop cities and everything else, but engaging in flat earth fear-mongering about immigration and crime that bears no relation to fact, because it preys upon people's fears and it fills up their coffers. But it's deeper. It's about immoral, unserious, and incoherent elite liberal framing and positions. Yes. The anti-fascist coalition must not adopt the lies, mythologies, assumptions, and policies of the fascists. Don't use their language. Most of what you've been told about crime, immigration, policing, etc. is propaganda. that must be rejected by people who care about a better, more just, less violent world. Like me. Like us. The core lies shared by Democrats, Republicans, and the New York Times, that's called the Uniparty, are 1. That the greatest threats come from poor people, especially people of color, immigrants, and strangers, because they don't. 2, that violence is always increasing. And 3, that state violence or repression and punishment are the solution to make us safe. Which, of course, we know it never is, but only makes them feel more safe because the police are designed to protect them. Each is false. Most interpersonal violence is perpetrated by people who know each other, and scope of death and property crime caused by people with money and power dwarfs all other. All the petty crime that they talk about is nothing compared to the corporate crime that they do. Interpersonal violence is at historic lows, but you wouldn't see that, and evidence is more repression doesn't make us safe. This is why I studied the role of institutions like the news and academia in the rise of authoritarianism and wrote Propaganda, which you should buy. All royalties are donated to charity, and we have free copies for all students, anyone in prison, and anyone who can't afford it. He released it February. I mean, he says it has a chapter based upon 2 progressive Harvard professors who proposed, based on ludicrous, embarrassing analysis, the biggest expansion of militarized police in world history, seeking 500,000 more armed cops. It's vital to see the role of such people in normalizing authoritarianism. Really, really good stuff from Alec. Really good stuff. I don't know if you saw that because I didn't get to see it, but hopefully you did. I read through it, so you got to hear it. I also really quickly wanted to make mention because, why is this zoomed in so much? It shouldn't be, but make mention of our friend fighting cancer. That's Chanda. Stand by her. She's crossed the $1,100 mark in her effort to fight small cell lung cancer. Hopefully she will get in her next scan another clear another clear result, which then they would be able to deem as in remission, I believe, or close to it. So she's been posting updates here on her GoFundMe. I will post the link in the description afterwards. But we love you, Chanda. You've been kicking cancer's ass, and you're going to keep doing it. And we're going to do all we can to help you. So thank you to everybody. 2 days ago, she got a donation. And so everyone who's doing that, thank you so much. Again, the other one is our friend Andrew. And Andrew's daughter, AnnaMari, is fighting brain tumors. They had to raise the amount from $6,500 to $7,500 because they reached the $6,500. Thank you to everyone. 86 donations. Amazing. All right. They are pretty much resigned to the fact that she is going blind at this point. That's our friend Andrew right there. Anything that you could do to help. Again, I'll post the link in the description. He posted a thing about how somebody was making a contribution of some work. I think it was Braille or something for reading, or a cane, or I don't know, training. I can't remember what it was now. I don't want to look it up while we're here, but amazing people are stepping up to help, and we appreciate all of them. And if you could please help fight brain tumors and give if you can, we certainly appreciate it. If not, please just share the GoFundMe so more people who might be able to help can see it. Finally, I wanted to make mention of our website, IndieNewsNow.com. I've built this website out so that we can have one place to go to find all of the best of the best of independent media. Corporate free, hopefully ad free, commercial free, and narrative free. At least corporate, the corporate narrative free. We've got articles from Left Voice. We've got articles from Consortium News. We've got videos from AM Wake Up Channel and from the INN channel. We've got podcast. We got that's Payday Report right there, talking about baseball's double victory. And Mike is actually invited to speak at the Hall of Fame. Very cool. This is an infinite should be an infinite scrolling website that continuously loads articles for you to read, videos for you to watch, and you can actually break it down here by articles, podcasts, or videos. And then at the bottom there's a watch live link. All right, where when INN is live, and we actually have a clip running right now from last week, you can watch that live here and chat with our Discord right there. This is actually also co-streaming over to Rumble. So we also have a video, a page for the network and all about INN. To meet the members of INN, learn a little bit more about them, find them, and then also subscribe to and support all the podcast channels and shows that we produce at the network. Like American Tradition with Jesse Jett, which you know I'm a co-host of, or the host of. This talks a little bit about our story. And of course, in order to keep the news free, we need your support. So this is a way to do that. You can go to indynewsnow.com/keep-the-news-free, or just go to indynewsnow.com and click on that link, and you'll be able to support us with a give as you can using any of these different methods: Google Pay, Cash App, Amazon Pay, any kind of U.S. bank account, you name it. We're using Stripe for this, which sucks. We have to use a payment processor. I wish we didn't have to, but we are. And then we also have our merch store below. So if you're able to pick up some merch and you want to get Jesse's Jet's face on a tank top, you can do that right there for $20. Very cool. Plus shipping. indynewsnow.com, all in one place. INDIE newsnow.com. Continue to support independent media because we need it more than ever. So many propagandists out there. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. No! We just fucking lost the stream!
You can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your heads. Why play civil if you won't listen? 50,000 died, and now we know our mission. We form a militia, make Congress a prison.